In this video, I'm going to show you how to format hard drives for use with an Apple Macintosh. So the first thing is, for me, I like to see the hard drives actually show up on my desktop. So if yours are not showing up on your desktop, come up to the Finder, come down to Preferences, and in the Finder Preferences, you need to add this this hard drives and also external disks right here. This is the hard drives one will show you your boot drive or your startup drive, and the external ones will actually show you the hard drives that you attach. Then I'm going to go ahead and actually connect a USB drive. USB is the most common connection for external hard drives. And when I do that, one of two things are going to actually happen. The first thing is if it's a completely brand new hard drive just right out of the box, there is a chance that you are going to get an error message that looks like this, saying that the disk that you inserted is not readable by this computer. You have three options here. The first is you can simply eject the drive, which means nothing will happen to it. The second is you can ignore the drive, which means that it won't eject it, but it won't do anything else to it as well. And your third option is to initialize. And initialize is exactly what you should be doing here, because we need to actually make the drive readable by your computer. Now, when you do this, this is not a final step. Even though your Macintosh will be able to read and see the drive, it's not necessarily the best way to have your drive formatted to use. So we're going to take a look at how to ultimately then make it the drive that you really want, or to do the kind of work that you want it to actually do for you. So once you do that initialize, or in many cases without that initialization, initial one, your drive will actually show up and it'll look something like this. So the next thing that we need to do is go into our application folder. At the bottom of your application folder, you will see a utilities folder. Inside of the utilities folder, you will actually see a disk utility folder, and I need you to launch that. When you bring this up, and the way this is by default, when you actually get just the way Apple ships this, you see an abbreviated list of available hard drives that exist over here. You can see there is internal hard drives up here at the top. This is my startup drive, my Macintosh HD. And then the external drive that I connected, that USB drive that's right here. We need to format this, even though it has been preliminarily formatted and is on the desktop. Again, it's not necessarily the correct format. We're going to take a look at that in just a second. However, if you simply click on this, it doesn't give you all the options that you want. In order to actually get all of the options that we need, you need to come up to the View menu and come down and select Show All Devices, not only volumes, but all devices. And when you do that, you'll actually see that there's a media listing up here, and then the volume, the untitled volume that we actually have down here. So then we're going to click on Media and come up and click on Erase. When you click on Erase, a menu will open up and it'll allow you to name the drive, and you can name it anything you want. I'm going to call this New Drive. And then in this drop-down menu, we have choices that we need to make based on what you want to do with the hard drive. So if we click on this drop-down menu, you will see starting up here at the very top is this APFS. This is Apple's relatively new drive format. And for all practical purposes, this would be the thing that you would actually want to pick and use. So you would simply click on that APFS, and then in this scheme, in this drop-down menu right here, you want to pick this GUID partition map. And then you would simply click on Erase, and this drive will then be formatted and able to be used by your current Macintosh. Another option that you could use, though, is this Mac OS Extended Journal. Not any of these encrypted ones. Oh, and by the way, don't use any of the APFS encrypted or case-sensitive ones. There's reasons to use these, but they are really restrictive on your computer, on your ability to use your computer. And if you need security, this is not really the place that I would suggest you use it. I would suggest you use one of your system preferences to encrypt the hard drive as opposed to actually having it done right here. So at any rate, but this Mac OS Extended Journal, if you are using Apple's Time Machine, Time Machine will not work using a drive that has been formatted with an APFS. So if you want to use your hard drive as a Time Machine, you would want to pick this Mac OS Extended in parentheses journaled, and also this GUID partition map again. Click on erase and you will be good to go. And then finally, if you want to use this drive in a mixed environment, meaning that you want to actually have not only Macintosh able to read this, but to use this on a Windows machine, a Microsoft Windows machine, then in the format you click down here, you would come down to MS-DOS FAT if this is under 2 terabytes, exFAT if it's over 2 terabytes. Now, regardless of which one of these you select, you also have to change the scheme to master boot record. So again, if you are working in a multiple environment, you want to be Windows and Macintosh both, you would pick, if your hard drive is under 2 terabytes, MS-DOS FAT, and change this to master boot record. If your hard drive is over 2 terabytes, you would pick exFAT and also master boot record, and then click erase. And that hard drive will then be able to be read by both Macintosh and Windows. In our case, we are actually going to change this to extended journaled and a GUID partition map. And the reason that I'm doing this is that I want to show you what it looks like to actually have a drive available for Time Machine. So I'm simply going to select erase on this. It will then go through a whole series. If you get an error message when this happens, this software is a little bit, it's not the most polished software in the world. If you get an error message when this happens, simply run it again. I've actually had to run this a number of times to actually get it to work sometimes. But in this case, it works fine. So I'm going to go ahead and say done to that. You can see I've got a new drive is sitting right here. If I go out onto my desktop and actually take a look at it, you'll see that it's sitting right here. It's actually called New Drive. Now, the drive that I just did right here is an extremely small thumb drive, just to give you, to show this for illustration purposes. Had I used a regular 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte hard drive, then you would also have seen this message as soon as that process was, the formatting process was finished. This is asking you if you do want to use that newly formatted hard drive as a Time Machine for periodic backup on your Macintosh computer. This is actually the drive that you would pick from here. If you had multiple hard drives connected to your computer, you could actually dedicate different ones. This will also allow you to encrypt the backup drive here. If you choose to do that, I strongly suggest you don't do that. And then finally, again, when this message comes up, you can say that you do not want to use this as a Time Machine, you do want to use it as a Time Machine backup, or you want to decide later. And again, depending on what you want to do, that would be your choice right there. And then other than that, what I also suggest doing is when you are still in your disk utility, is to click, this is our new drive right here, click on the drive and click on Run First Aid. And it's going to ask you if you want to run First Aid on this, and you'll say yes you do. And it will actually go through, and it'll, if you click on your little drop-down menu here, you can see that the operation was successful. This drive is good and ready to go. And that's it.